The sky over New Haven Colony was always orange. It was not like the blue sky of Earth that Jake had seen in old pictures. But to him, this orange sky was home. He had never known anything else. Jake Mitchell was 10 years old. He had messy brown hair and dirt on his clothes most of the time. His family worked in the farming domes. They grew food for the colony. It was hard work, but Jake did not mind. He liked being outside. He liked watching the cargo ships come down from space. But most of all, he liked spending time with Emma. Emma Sullivan was 8 years old. She had long black hair and a smile that could make anyone feel better. Her parents were scientists. They worked in the research building near the center of the colony. Emma was smart. She knew things about stars and planets that Jake could not understand. But she never made him feel stupid. She always explained things in a way that made sense. Jake and Emma did everything together. They explored the old tunnels under the colony. They watched ships land and take off. They sat on the hill near the observation deck and talked about what they would do when they grew up. "I want to see Earth someday," Emma said one evening. The orange sun was setting and the sky was turning a deep red color. "I will take you there," Jake said. He said it like it was a simple thing. Like taking a trip to Earth was easy. Emma laughed. "How will you do that?" "I do not know yet," Jake admitted. "But I will find a way." That was the kind of boy Jake was. He made promises he did not know how to keep. But he always tried his best to keep them. Everything changed when the Valorans came. The first Valoran ship appeared in the sky on a Tuesday morning. It was bigger than any ship Jake had ever seen. It blocked out the sun and cast a shadow over the entire colony. People came out of their homes and looked up. Nobody knew what to do. The Valorans were tall. They had gray skin and large black eyes. Their bodies were thin and long. They moved slowly, like they had all the time in the world. When they spoke, their voices were deep and cold. They said they came in peace. They said they wanted to help humanity. They said they had been watching Earth and its colonies for a long time. They offered protection from dangers that humans did not even know existed. But something about them felt wrong. Jake could see it in the way the adults looked at each other. He could hear it in the way they whispered when they thought the children were not listening. The Valorans did not ask. They told. They made agreements that humans had to accept. They took things they wanted and called it fair trade. They smiled with their thin lips, but their eyes never changed. 3 months after the Valorans arrived, Emma's parents received a letter. It was printed on strange paper that felt cold to the touch. The letter said that the Sullivan family had been chosen for a great honor. They would travel to the Valoran homeworld as cultural ambassadors. They would represent humanity and help build friendship between the two species. Everyone knew what this really meant. The Valorans were taking hostages. They were taking the smartest humans, the most important ones, and keeping them close. It was their way of making sure humanity behaved. Emma found Jake near the farming domes that afternoon. Her eyes were red from crying. She held the letter in her shaking hands. "They are taking us away," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Tomorrow. We leave tomorrow." Jake felt his heart drop. He did not understand politics. He did not understand why the Valorans were doing this. But he understood that his best friend was being taken from him. And that made him angry. Where? He asked. Velor Prime, their home planet. Emma wiped her eyes. "My parents say it is very far. They say we might never come back." Jake wanted to say something. He wanted to tell her that everything would be okay. But he could not find the words. He just stood there, feeling helpless. That night, Jake could not sleep. He lay in his bed and stared at the ceiling. He thought about Emma. He thought about all the times they had spent together. He thought about all the plans they had made. He got up and walked to his father's workshop. His father was a farmer, but he also liked to carve things from wood. Jake found a small piece of wood and a knife. He worked for hours, cutting and shaping. His fingers hurt. He cut himself twice. But he did not stop. When the sun started to rise, he was finished. He had made a ring. It was rough and simple. It was not pretty. But he had made it himself, and that was what mattered. Jake ran to the observation deck. He knew Emma would be there. She always went there when she was sad. She said watching the stars made her feel better. He found her sitting alone, looking up at the sky. Her small bag was packed and sitting next to her. In a few hours, she would be gone. Emma. Jake said. She turned around. Her eyes were still red. She had been crying again. Jake walked up to her and sat down. He did not know what to say. He was just a boy. He did not have power or money. He could not stop the Valorans. He could not keep her here, but he could make a promise. "I will find you," he said. His voice was shaking, but he meant every word. "I do not care how far away they take you. I do not care how long it takes. I will find you and bring you home." Emma looked at him. A small smile appeared on her face. "Jake, we are just kids." "You cannot. I will wed you when I grow up," Jake said. He did not know why he said it. The words just came out. But once he said them, he knew they were true. "I promise. When I am old enough, I will come for you. And I will bring a ring. A real one." He took the wooden ring from his pocket and pressed it into her hand. "This is just a placeholder," he said, "until I can bring the real thing." Emma looked at the ring. It was rough and uneven. It was clearly made by a child. But to her, it was the most beautiful thing in the world. "You promise?" she asked. "I promise," Jake said. The Valoran ship departed 3 hours later. Jake stood on the observation deck and watched it rise into the orange sky. He watched until it became a small dot. He watched until it disappeared among the stars. His mother came to bring him home. She put her hand on his shoulder. "I'm sorry, Jake," she said. "I know she was your friend." Jake did not respond. He just kept looking at the sky. He was only 10 years old. He was just a boy from a farming colony. He had no power, no influence, no way to fight against an alien empire. But he had made a promise. And Jake Mitchell always kept his promises. He would find Emma Sullivan. No matter how long it took, no matter what he had to become, he would bring her home. 8 years passed. The galaxy changed. And so did Jake Mitchell. The boy who once worked in the farming domes was gone. In his place stood a man. His body was hard and strong from years of training. His eyes were cold and focused. His hands, which once carved a wooden ring for a little girl, now held weapons that could destroy ships. Jake had joined the United Terran Defense Force on his 16th birthday. It was the same day the Valorans attacked the mining colony on Mars. They had grown tired of pretending to be friends. They showed their true nature. They wanted to rule humanity, not help it. But they made a mistake. They thought humans would surrender. They thought humans were weak. They were wrong. Humans were small compared to most alien species. The Valorans were 2 meters tall. Humans were shorter and lighter. In a fair fight, a Valoran should win every time. But humans did not fight fair. They fought smart. They fought together. They fought with a fire that the Valorans could not understand. The war began, and humanity refused to lose. Jake proved himself in his first battle. While other soldiers were scared, he was calm. While others ran, he held his ground. He fought like he had nothing to lose. Because in many ways, he did not. The thing he cared about most was already gone, taken to a planet far away. His commanders noticed him. They moved him to special training. They taught him things that normal soldiers never learned. how to move without being seen, how to fight without making a sound, how to survive when survival seemed impossible. By the time Jake was 20, he had completed 12 missions that others said could not be done. He had walked into enemy bases alone and walked out alive. He had rescued captured soldiers from Valoran prisons. He had destroyed weapons that were meant to kill millions. The soldiers started calling him the Unbreaking, because no matter what the Valorans did to him, no matter how bad things got, Jake Mitchell did not break. He kept going. He kept fighting. Jake formed a team. He picked the best soldiers he could find. People who were like him. People who had lost something to the Valorans and wanted to take it back. There was Marcus Cole, a young man with bright eyes and quick hands. Marcus could break into any computer system. He could find information that the Valorans thought was hidden. He had lost his brother in the Mars attack. There was Sarah Chun, a woman with short hair and a sharp mind. Sarah was the best pilot in the fleet. She could fly anything, anywhere, in any condition. Her parents had been taken as hostages, just like Emma. There was David Park, a big man with a gentle heart. David was the strongest person Jake had ever met. He could carry 2 injured soldiers at once and still keep fighting. He joined because he believed in protecting the innocent. Together, they became the Hellwalkers. It was a name the Valorans learned to fear, but every mission Jake went on had a secret purpose. Every enemy base he attacked, every computer he accessed, every prisoner he rescued, he was always looking for one thing. One name, Emma Sullivan. Years had passed, but Jake had not forgotten. He still had the image of her face in his mind. He still remembered her smile, her laugh, the way she explained things about the stars. He still carried the memory of his promise. Some nights, when the fighting was done and his team was resting, Jake would sit alone and think about her. Was she still alive? Did she remember him? Did she still have the wooden ring he gave her? He did not know, but he would not stop looking until he found out. The war continued. Humanity pushed back against the Valoran Empire. They won battles that should have been impossible. They took back planets that the Valorans had claimed. They proved that being small did not mean being weak. The Valorans were confused. They had conquered many species before. All of them had given up eventually. All of them had accepted Valoran rule. But humans were different. Humans would rather die than surrender. Humans fought for each other with a loyalty that the Valorans could not understand. Jake saw this every day. He saw soldiers jump in front of weapons to save their friends. He saw pilots crash their ships into enemy targets when there was no other way. He saw ordinary people do extraordinary things because they loved the person next to them. This was humanity's true strength. Not weapons, not technology, love, connection, the simple promise to never leave anyone behind. Jake understood this better than anyone. His whole life had become about keeping one promise, finding one person, bringing her home. Admiral Diana Hayes was the commander of the Terran fleet. She was a tall woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too many battles. She had watched Jake since he joined the force. She knew he was special. One day, she called him to her office. "Mitchell," she said, "you have done more for humanity than most soldiers do in a lifetime. You could ask for any position, any reward. What do you want?" Jake did not need to think about his answer. "I want to find the human hostages on Vela Prime," he said. "I want to bring them home." Admiral Hayes looked at him for a long moment. She knew there was something personal in this request. She could see it in his eyes. "Vela Prime is the heart of their empire," she said. "No human has ever gone there and come back." "Then I will be the first," Jake said. The Admiral smiled. It was a small smile, but it was there. "You really are unbreaking, are you not?" she said. Jake did not smile. He just looked at her with those cold, focused eyes. "I made a promise," he said, "a long time ago, and I intend to keep it." Admiral Hayes nodded. She had heard stories about Jake Mitchell, stories about his past, about the girl who was taken when he was young. Some people thought it was just a legend. But looking at him now, she knew it was true. "Get me what I need," she said. "Find me the location of the hostages. When you do, I will give you the mission." Jake stood up and saluted. "Yes, Admiral," he said. He turned and walked out of the office. His heart was beating fast, but his face showed nothing. He had learned to hide his feelings. He had learned to be cold and calm. It was the only way to survive in this war. But deep inside, something was burning. Hope. After 8 years, he finally had a real chance. A chance to find Emma. A chance to keep his promise. He found his team waiting outside. What did she say? Marcus asked. Jake looked at them. These were his people. His family. They had fought beside him through everything. "We have work to do," he said. "We need to find where the hostages are being held." Sarah nodded. David cracked his knuckles. Marcus pulled out his computer. "Then let us get started," Marcus said. The Hellwalkers moved out. They had a new mission now. And for Jake, it was the only mission that truly mattered. He was coming. Emma. After all these years, he was finally coming. And nothing in the galaxy would stop him. The Valoran data center was hidden on a small moon called Nexus 7. It was far from any human colony. The Valorans thought it was safe. They thought no human could ever reach it. They were wrong. The Hellwalkers arrived in the dead of night. Their ship was small and fast. Sarah flew it through the asteroid field that surrounded the moon. She moved between the rocks like water flowing through stones. Not a single alarm went off. They landed on the dark side of the moon, where the Valoran sensors could not see them. From there, they walked. The surface was cold and empty. There was no air, so they wore special suits. Their boots made no sound on the frozen ground. Jake led the way. He moved carefully, checking every shadow. Behind him, his team followed in perfect silence. They had done this many times before. They knew how to be ghosts. The data center was built into the side of a mountain. It had thick walls and heavy doors. Guards walked the halls at all hours. Cameras watched every corner. It was designed to keep secrets safe. But Marcus had studied the plans for weeks. He knew where every camera was. He knew when the guards changed shifts. He knew the codes that would open the doors. "There is a small gap in their coverage," Marcus whispered through the radio. 30 seconds. "That is all we have." "That is enough," Jake said. They waited. The guards passed by. The cameras turned away. And in that small moment, the Hellwalkers moved. They were inside in 20 seconds. The halls of the data center were quiet. The Valorans did not expect anyone to get this far. Why would they? No human had ever tried. No human had ever succeeded. Jake's team moved through the building like shadows. They avoided guards. They hid from cameras. They left no trace of their passing. The main computer room was at the center of the building. It was the place where the Valorans kept their most important secrets. Information about their military. Information about their plans. Information about their hostages. Marcus plugged his device into the main computer. His fingers moved fast. Lines of code appeared on his screen. The Valoran security was strong, but Marcus was stronger. "I am in," he said. "What do you need?" "Human hostages," Jake said. His voice was calm, but his heart was racing. "All of them?" "Every location." Marcus nodded and started searching. Files appeared on his screen. Names, faces, locations. Hundreds of humans. Held across the Valoran Empire. Jake watched the names scroll by. He was looking for one. Just one dot, and then he saw it. Emma Sullivan. Location: Velar Prime, Imperial Palace. Status: alive. Jake stopped breathing. For a moment, the whole world was silent. 8 years of searching. 8 years of fighting. 8 years of hoping. And here it was. Her name, her location. She was alive. Jake? Sarah asked. She had noticed the change in his face. Did you find something? Jake did not answer right away. He just stared at the screen. Emma was alive. She was on Velar Prime. She was in the Imperial Palace itself. Download everything, Jake finally said. Every file about human hostages. Every security code. Everything about Velar Prime. Marcus did as he was told. The files copied to his device. It took several minutes. They were almost caught twice. But they stayed hidden, stayed quiet, and the download finished. They left the same way they came. Silent. Invisible. The Valorans never knew they were there. Back on the ship, Jake sat alone in the cargo bay. He held his computer and looked at Emma's file. There was a picture. It was small and not very clear, but he could see her face. She had grown up. The little girl he remembered was gone. In her place was a woman. Her hair was longer. Her face was thinner. But her eyes were the same. Those gentle, kind eyes that he had never forgotten. The file said she was kept in the Imperial Palace as a guest. But Jake knew what that meant. She was a trophy. The Valorans kept her to show their power, to prove that they could take whatever they wanted from humanity. The thought made Jake angry. It made him want to fly to Velar Prime right now and tear the palace apart with his bare hands. But he was not stupid. Velar Prime was the heart of the Valoran Empire. It had the strongest defenses in the galaxy. The Imperial Palace was the most protected building on the most protected planet. Going there without a plan would be suicide. Jake needed help. He needed the full support of the Terran military. He needed Admiral Hayes. They flew back to the fleet. It took 3 days. Jake barely slept. He kept looking at Emma's picture, kept reading her file, kept planning what he would do. When they arrived, Jake went straight to Admiral Hayes. He showed her everything. The files, the locations, the hostages, all of it. The Admiral looked at the data for a long time. Her face was serious. "This is valuable information," she said. "With this, we can rescue hundreds of people. This could change the war." "I want to go to Velar Prime," Jake said. "I want to get the hostages in the Imperial Palace." Admiral Hayes looked at him. "You know what you are asking. Velar Prime is not like other missions. This is their home, their fortress. If you fail, you die. If you get captured, they will use you against us." "I know," Jake said. "And you still want to go?" "Yes." The Admiral leaned back in her chair. She had seen many soldiers in her life. She had seen brave ones and foolish ones. She had seen people who fought for glory and people who fought for revenge. But she had never seen anyone like Jake Mitchell. This was not about glory or revenge. This was about a promise. A simple, pure promise made by a boy to a girl many years ago. "The girl in the palace file," the Admiral said. "Emma Sullivan. She is the one, is she not? The one you have been looking for." Jake did not answer. He did not need to. His eyes said everything. Admiral Hayes nodded slowly. "I will give you your mission. But I need something from you first. I need you to promise me that you will complete the main goal. Free as many hostages as you can." "Not just her." "I promise," Jake said. "I will free everyone I can. But I am bringing her home, no matter what." The Admiral smiled. It was a sad smile, full of understanding. "Then go," she said. "Operation Homecoming is approved. Take your team. Take whatever resources you need. Bring our people back." Jake saluted. "Thank you, Admiral." He turned and walked out. His team was waiting. They saw the look on his face and knew immediately. "We are going, are we not?" Marcus asked. Jake nodded. "We are going to Vila Prime. We are going to the Imperial Palace. And we are bringing everyone home." Sarah smiled. David nodded. Marcus started pulling up maps of the Valoran homeworld. The Hellwalkers had their mission. The most dangerous mission of their lives. A mission that no one had ever completed before. But Jake was not scared. He was ready. He had waited 8 years for this moment. Emma was alive. She was waiting, and he was coming to get her. Vila Prime was beautiful in a cold way. Its cities were made of black stone and silver metal. Its towers reached toward the sky like sharp knives. Everything was perfect and clean and lifeless. The Hellwalkers arrived hidden inside an asteroid. It was an old trick, but it worked. The Valoran sensors looked for ships, not rocks. They passed through the defense systems without anyone noticing. Sarah flew them down to the surface using the asteroid's shadow. She landed in a canyon far from the city. From there, they would go on foot. "We have 12 hours, Jake said to his team. "In 12 hours, the Terran fleet will arrive at the edge of Valoran space. That will pull their attention away from the planet. We use that moment to escape." "And if we are not done in 12 hours? David asked. Jake looked at him. "Then we do not escape." Nobody argued. They all knew the risks. They had all chosen to be here. The walk to the capital city took 3 hours. They moved at night, staying in the shadows. The Valoran patrols passed by many times, but the Hellwalkers were invisible. They had trained for this. They had done this before. The Imperial Palace stood at the center of the city. It was the largest building Jake had ever seen. It reached so high that clouds floated around its upper floors. Lights glowed from thousands of windows. Guards walked along its walls in perfect lines. "It looks impossible," Sarah whispered. "Nothing is impossible," Jake said. "Only difficult." Marcus had found the palace blueprints in the data center files. He had studied them for days. He knew every door, every hall, every weak point. "The hostages are kept on the 42nd floor, Marcus said. "There is a service entrance on the east side. It leads to a maintenance tunnel. From there, we can reach the inner stairs." Jake nodded. "Let us go." They moved toward the palace. The guards changed shifts every 30 minutes. Marcus had timed it perfectly. When the old guards left and the new guards arrived, there was a gap of exactly 45 seconds. 45 seconds to cross the open ground. 45 seconds to reach the service door. 45 seconds to disappear inside. They made it in 40-2 inside the palace. Everything was different. The walls were covered with strange art. The floors were made of polished stone that reflected their images. The air smelled cold and clean, like nothing lived here at all. The Hellwalkers moved through the maintenance tunnels. These passages were made for workers, not for important people. They were dark and narrow, perfect for hiding. They climbed the inner stairs, floor after floor. Their legs burned. Their lungs hurt. But they did not stop. They could not stop. Every second they waited was a second they might be discovered. On the 40th floor, they met their first problem. A Valoran guard was standing in the stairwell. He was not supposed to be there. Something had changed. Jake moved before anyone could react. He was silent and fast. The guard did not even have time to make a sound. One moment he was standing. The next moment he was on the ground. And Jake was already moving to the next door. David picked up the guard's body and hid it in a storage room. They kept going. The 42nd floor was different from the others. The halls were wider. The doors were heavier. This was where they kept the valuable things. The treasures. The trophies. The human hostages. Marcus worked on the security door. His fingers moved fast over his computer. Codes flashed on the screen. Numbers changed. Locks clicked open. "We are in," he said. The hostage area was like a fancy prison. The rooms were comfortable but locked. The people inside could not leave, but they were treated well. The Valorans wanted their hostages healthy. Healthy hostages were more useful. Jake counted 12 humans in this section. Scientists, diplomats, important people that the Valorans had collected over the years. All of them looked tired and scared. "We are here to take you home," Jake said. His voice was calm and strong. "Follow my team. Stay quiet. Do what they say." The hostages nodded. They were too shocked to argue. After years of captivity, freedom had finally come. Sarah and David led the hostages toward the exit. Marcus was already planning their path out, but Jake was not going with them. He had one more thing to do. "Her room is at the end of the hall," Marcus said. He did not need to ask who Jake was looking for. "I will wait for you at the stairs." Jake nodded and walked forward. The door to Emma's room was simple. It had no special lock, no guards. The Valorans did not think she needed extra security. Where would she go? She was one small human on an alien planet. She had nowhere to run. Jake opened the door. The room was large and cold. It had a big window that looked out over the city. Everything was clean and perfect and empty. There were no personal items, no decorations, just a bed, a table, and a chair. And standing by the window, looking out at the alien city, was Emma. She had heard the door open. She turned around slowly. Her face showed no surprise. She had probably heard strange sounds before. She had probably learned to stay calm no matter what happened. But when she saw Jake, everything changed. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She stared at him like he was a ghost, like he was something that could not be real. "Emma," Jake said. She still did not move. She just kept staring. Jake walked toward her, slowly, carefully, like she might disappear if he moved too fast. "It is me," he said. "Jake, from New Haven, from the colony." Emma's hand went to her chest. She touched something under her shirt. Something small and hidden. "Jake?" Her voice was a whisper. "Is it really you?" "I told you I would come," Jake said. He was standing in front of her now, close enough to touch. "I told you I would find you, no matter how long it took." Tears appeared in Emma's eyes. She pulled out the thing she had been touching. It was hanging on a string around her neck, the wooden ring. The rough, simple ring that a 10-year-old boy had carved for her the night before she was taken. She had kept it. All these years. She had kept it. Jake's heart felt like it would break. He had never felt so much emotion in his life. He wanted to hold her. He wanted to cry. He wanted to scream, but there was no time. The alarms would sound soon. They had to move. So he did the one thing he had been planning for 8 years. He knelt down on one knee. He reached into his tactical vest and pulled out a small box. Inside the box was a ring. Not a wooden ring this time. A real one. Simple. Silver. Beautiful. "I told you I would bring a real one," Jake said. Emma laughed through her tears. It was the most beautiful sound Jake had ever heard. "You kept your promise," she said. "I always keep my promises," Jake said. "Emma Sullivan, will you—" The alarms started screaming. Red lights flashed everywhere. The Valorans had finally noticed something was wrong. Jake looked at Emma. Emma looked at Jake. "Ask me later," she said. "Right now, let us get out of here." Jake smiled. He put the ring back in his vest, took Emma's hand, and ran. The real fight was just beginning. The alarms echoed through the palace. Red lights turned the silver halls into something that looked like fire. Valoran guards ran in every direction, their cold voices shouting orders. Jake held Emma's hand and ran. They moved through the halls like they had done this 1,000 times before. In a way, Jake had. Every mission, every fight, every impossible escape had led to this moment. They met the rest of the team at the stairs. Sarah was already counting heads. 12 hostages, all accounted for. Plus Emma. Plus the Hellwalkers themselves. That was 18 people who needed to escape from the most protected building in the galaxy. The main exit is blocked, Marcus said, checking his computer. They have 50 guards there now. More coming. What about the roof? Jake asked. Clear for now. But they will send ships soon. Jake looked at his team. He looked at the scared hostages. He looked at Emma. There was only one choice. We go up, he said. Sarah, call the ship. Tell it to meet us on the roof. Sarah nodded and spoke into her radio. Their small ship had been hiding in the canyon, waiting for this signal. It would take 4 minutes to reach the palace roof. 4 minutes of running and fighting and surviving. They went up, floor after floor. The stairs seemed endless. The hostages were tired and weak from years of captivity. David helped carry those who could not run fast enough. Marcus stayed at the back, watching for enemies. On the 50th floor, the Valoran guards caught up with them. The fight was short and violent. Jake and his team were outnumbered, but they were better trained. They moved together like one body. When one attacked, another defended. When one fell back, another pushed forward. The guards went down. But more were coming. Always more. They reached the roof just as the sun was rising over the alien city. The sky was purple and orange, strange and beautiful. Jake could see the whole capital spread out below them. Miles and miles of black towers and silver streets. Their ship appeared over the edge of the roof. Sarah had flown down to get it while the others fought. She landed it hard and fast, the door already open. Get in, she shouted. The hostages ran for the ship. David helped them climb inside. Marcus provided cover fire from the door. Jake and Emma were the last ones on the roof. They were almost to the ship when a voice stopped them. Human. Jake turned. Standing on the far side of the roof was a Valoran unlike any he had seen before. This one was taller, older, and dressed in robes of deep purple. Gold chains hung around his neck. His black eyes were cold with ancient anger. The Valoran Emperor himself. You dare to come to my world, the Emperor said. His voice was calm, but filled with hate. You dare to take what belongs to me. Jake pushed Emma toward the ship. Go. I will be right behind you. Emma hesitated. She did not want to leave him. Go, Jake said again. Trust me. Emma looked at him for a long moment. Then she ran to the ship. Jake turned to face the Emperor, the most powerful being in the Valoran Empire. The creature who had caused so much pain to so many people. She never belonged to you, Jake said. None of them did. The Emperor laughed. It was a cold, empty sound. Humans are nothing, he said. You are weak. You are small. You are insects compared to us. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. You have barely left your own planet. And yet here I am, Jake said, standing in your palace, taking back our people. And there is nothing you can do to stop me. The Emperor's face changed. The cold calm broke, replaced by pure rage. I will destroy your planet, he hissed. I will burn your colonies. I will make your species remember this day as the beginning of your end. Jake did not move. He was not afraid. He had faced death too many times to fear it now. You still do not understand, Jake said. That is why you will lose. You see our size and think we are weak. You see our short lives and think we do not matter. But you miss the truth. He took a step forward. We fight for each other. We love each other. We make promises to the people we care about, and we keep them. No matter how long it takes. No matter how far we have to go. No matter what stands in our way. Jake pointed at the Emperor. You took something precious from us. You thought we would forget. You thought we would give up. But here is what you never understood about humans. We do not abandon our own. Ever. Behind him, the ship's engines roared. Sarah was ready to fly. Jake turned and ran. He jumped into the ship just as it lifted off the roof. The doors closed behind him. The Emperor stood on the roof and watched them go. His hands were shaking with anger. But there was something else in his eyes now. Something he had never felt before. Fear. The ship broke through the atmosphere. Valoran fighters came after them, but they were too slow. Sarah flew like a demon, dodging every attack, using every trick she knew. And then, at the edge of the system, the Terran fleet appeared. 50 warships. The biggest show of force humanity had ever made. They had come to send a message. To show the Valorans that the war was not over. That humans would never stop fighting. The Valoran fighters turned and ran. 3 months later, Jake and Emma stood on New Haven. The colony had changed in the years since they left. It was bigger now, stronger, but the orange sky was the same. The farming domes were still there. The observation deck where they had said goodbye still stood on the hill god. It was a beautiful day. The sun was warm. The wind was gentle. And under the same sky where a boy had once made a promise to a girl, they were finally getting married. Emma wore a simple white dress. Her hair was long and dark, just like Jake remembered. But she was not a little girl anymore. She was a woman who had survived years of captivity with grace and hope. Jake wore his uniform. The medals on his chest told the story of his journey. Every battle he had fought. Every mission he had completed. Every step that had led him back to her. He took her hand and looked into her eyes. Those gentle, kind eyes that he had never forgotten. I made you a promise, he said. A long time ago. On this very hill. Emma smiled. I remember. Jake pulled out the ring. The real one this time. Silver and simple and beautiful. I told you I would come back with a real ring, he said. I told you I would find you. I told you I would marry you. He slipped the ring onto her finger. Jake Mitchell always keeps his promises. Emma laughed. Tears ran down her face, but she was smiling. The happiest smile Jake had ever seen. I know, she said. I never doubted you. Not for a single moment. They kissed under the orange sky while their friends and family cheered. Soldiers who had fought beside Jake. Scientists who had worked with Emma. People who had been saved because 2 children had believed in something bigger than themselves. Far above them. Among the stars, the Valoran Empire was watching. They had learned a lesson that day. A lesson about humanity. About what happened when you took something precious from them. Humans were small. Humans were fragile. Their lives were short, and their bodies were weak, but their hearts were unbreakable. Their love was infinite, and their promises lasted forever. The boy had kept his vow, and the galaxy would never forget it.